Hey loves, it's Britt, and in this video, I'm doing something different than I usually do. I'm talking about a natal chart aspect, and I would love for you guys to request even more natal chart aspects because I do usually focus on synastry, and that is kind of like my favorite, but I also love talking about natal chart aspects. So it's my intention. I want to do more videos on natal chart aspects like this. This was requested. Thank you so much, you guys. So let's talk about it. Mars conjunct Chiron in the natal chart. So I'm not surprised that this aspect was requested because there's not a lot of information on Chiron in most astrology books. So this is one that needs to be talked about because Chiron, I feel like, it actually can be considered a major planet. I definitely don't count it as anything less in my readings. So, Mars, our will, our aggression, our sex drive, how we go after what we want, kind of like our personal mojo, our instincts, our primal action, how we feel manly if we're a man, or if we, as a woman, how we relate to our masculine energy in the sense of like the warrior aspect. So, Mars being conjunct with Chiron in our natal chart, which represents the pain that we feel, the woundedness that we feel. But, if we actually integrate this wound and pain, it becomes how we heal others. But before we get to that point, or if we don't have the understanding or knowledge of Chiron, it can just feel really painful whenever we're dealing with that realm, the sign and house placement of our Chiron. So when we have our Mars conjunct with Chiron, this is essentially a very difficult conjunction. It can show that whenever we act spontaneously or aggressively or competitively, sexually, there is a tinge of pain and insecurity. So these people can feel very awkward. Men with this conjunction can feel very sexually inadequate or a deep fear and inadequacy in their maleness, which can sometimes lead to overcompensation. So you could see men that appear very dominant, very masculine, but it's not coming from a healthy place. It's coming from a place of deep inadequacy and pain in their Mars being with Chiron. Now, women with this aspect, or people that identify as, feminine or women, are going to see it more in their relationships with men. So they can attract men that are very wounded or very aggressive or dominant, or there's definitely a pain in sexuality. Now, I'm going to talk about the positives of this aspect too, because it's not just all negative. It actually can be a sacred gift, but it's definitely something very difficult to deal with. It's a very difficult complex to have in your psyche when you have Mars conjunct Chiron. Another manifestation of Mars conjunct Chiron is that the aggression that you have, the Mars, the anger, is displaced. And you could see massive projections. You can see people reacting very strongly to this individual and even like attacking them, or the Mars Chiron person evokes anger from others. So you can see other people just flipping out on them for no reason, and they're just like, where did that come from? And so they can feel attacked very easily. They can feel provoked very easily. They're very touchy people, but sometimes it does seem like for no reason they are evoking all of this anger from other people. It's like something about their authenticity or their primal intuitive expression, like their how they when they act without thinking, their Mars, it just enrages people. Um, so that's very interesting to watch someone with this aspect. And in some cases, they like to actually stir others up. They might start to have a power complex where they feel powerful when others are angry at them. Now, that could be unconscious or it could be sort of conscious. Um, Another thing that you can see with this aspect that's very interesting is a strong competitive nature. They could be very athletic or in their work or, whatever they're directing their energy to in life or sexually, they could like a conquest and feel very competitive in that regard. But yeah, there's a strong competitive urge. There's a strong warrior energy. And this is, I'll get into like the higher side of this aspect. So once they begin to integrate the Chiron wound and realize that it's there, and the sign that this conjunction is taking place in is going to be the wound. This is the energy that they need to transmute to go higher, to a higher frequency, from lower frequency to higher frequency. They need to work through this wound of this energy. So once they kind of figure that out a bit, the highest energy of this aspect is like the sacred warrior. It's fighting for a cause, fighting for the underdog. You can see these people really like championing for the less fortunate or people that don't have their own strength. So, because they know what it feels like to feel not strong and centered in their Mars, because their Mars has been tinged with pain their whole life. Once they do start to get a sense of their strength and their warrior energy, they want to help others. They want to fight for others. You can see these people like working for a charity, or even just like, this is the kind of person that they see the homeless man on the street and like they want to help them in some way. I mean, it might not be in that sense. It's usually like they want to help give strength to people. Like you could even see this in like the workout trainer. This is an excellent example of an aspect that you would see in a workout trainer or an army general or something, where they're helping others like activate their warrior, their strength. And they definitely do have a sensitivity and a care for the underdog and for people who can't fight for themselves. They want to give that to others. They want to help people activate that in themselves because they know how hard it is. This aspect could show up in people that were bullied, or physically abused. There could be violence inflicted upon them in their upbringing or even in past lives. This is someone who could have been violated, or abused, or just made to feel so weak and futile and useless. And so in this lifetime, this is like a new beginning for their Mars-Chiron. This is the lifetime they get their strength back. And it can take some lessons because they can have a hard time with their aggressiveness. They can either come on too strong and too aggressive and just totally put others off, or they can be too timid, weak, or shy, or vulnerable and not make the right impression because of that. So they're learning this balance of their Mars energy with their Chiron. They're learning how to be just the right amount assertive, aggressive, sexual. We'll talk about their sexuality too. They're learning how to be in this energy in a healthy way that's not dominating or running over other people, but that's also not letting other people walk all over them either. So they're learning this balance. And it's gonna have challenges. This aspect can have very physical challenges. You could even see a physical inhibition, like some kind of physical body problem with Mars-Chiron that they have to work on or work through, and they have to be more health conscious, or they maybe it's an addiction they have to give up. There's something with the physical body that they can have to heal, and they also have to heal these deep insecurities about being assertive and learning how to be assertive without being aggressive. They, like I said, they can have a hard time balancing that. um yeah, sexually, because Mars is a representation of how we go after what we want. And if it's a sexual thing, like how we pursue that, how we get it, and how we want it. And when we have Mars conjunct Chiron, we can feel very inadequate in this area. And that can lead to overcompensation as well, like I've said, where there's a lot of sexuality, or it's misdirected somehow. There's something, maybe they're turned on by something taboo or power dynamics, or there's something about the sexuality that it is a focus, and they can be, more insecure, especially as a man. They can need to work through this feeling of inadequacy and fear around using their body in this way, because they also have deep fears about being abused. That could be connected too with the sexual wound. It's like they just can have a fear of that giving and sharing that comes from the sexual exchange. So that will be one of their issues. In some cases, you could even see like a sexual abuse, or something in the sexual experiences that cause pain, or yeah, they're learning there. But on the higher side of this, they can end up being the sexual healers. They can end up being the one to, if they're with someone who maybe doesn't have a lot of experience sexually or has been wounded, they can be the one to heal them and bring out a healthy expression of sexuality with them. So it's kind of the same about how I said that, like, they fight for the underdog, or they want people to feel strength because they didn't feel it. It's the same sexually. They can end up attracting people who need healing, and then they end up being the perfect right person to help them sexually open up, like the flower opening up. So these people end up, if they can go through the challenges and do the healing required, they can end up being very beautiful people who truly care about others. They're gentle souls, once they learn how to harness and utilize their Mars energy with their Chiron harmoniously. They're very gentle souls. They're very caring. They're very sensitive, actually, even though it might appear like they're not. It can end up being a very beautiful aspect to have in a natal chart. And it is kind of like in this lifetime, they're birthing a new energy with their Mars Chiron. And they can end up being focused on some type of healing work. Usually it is going to be activating strength in others, fighting for others in some way. They're somehow advocating, fighting for others. They love to be in that position. And they do kind of stir up opposition. And so, yeah, in their life, to feel their Mars energy, and to feel their like ability to express it, they do like to be fighting, actually. And it's like a sacred fighting, fighting for what's right. And they're very passionate in that. So, yeah, what else? You really want to look at the sign that this conjunction is taking place in. That is the energy that has been so painful, and that is the energy that will be transformed into something higher for the good of all, to help people. And also the house placement is going to be very important as well. So you could say these people are healers for sure. When we have a strong aspect to Chiron in our natal chart, it can show that we're healers. This one, it's in those domains that I've said. So, yeah, it's a very deep, complex aspect. I hope I've done all right at explaining it. I'd love to know your experience of this natal aspect. If you have it in your natal chart, was this accurate? Was it not? Or if you know people that have it, I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to know your experiences of this one. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for requesting, sending you all the love. Love you guys so much, and talk soon. Bye.